Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to A Day in the Life of a Light Skin. So, I'm going to make this entire series because I'm just so tired of non light skinned people constantly policing what us light skins are looking like or what our lives are like or how our facial features should look. And a lot of people won't admit that your facial features are actually one of the determining factors. Your facial features and your hair texture. People won't admit that they take that into consideration when they are deciding your skin tone. And this is why we see people policing light skins like light skin Keisha. They're more likely to say you're not light skin or you're not that light skin. What they really mean is you're not white or you're not that white looking. Has anyone ever noticed that? Just because someone is light skinned, it doesn't mean that their facial features have to look like a mixed person. You can have a lighter skin tone and have facial features that look purely African. Look at Jay-Z. Look at light skinned Keisha. Look at people who have fuller lips and they have a lighter complexion. And I'm so tired of people who they're not even light skinned themselves or they're not confident in their own skin tone. And it's like, if you're not even confident about your own skin tone, how the hell are you going to tell me what my skin tone is? Have you ever noticed that? It's always non-light skinned people or people who are not even confident in their own skin complexion that want to try to tell you what your skin complexion is. It's like, sis, you can't even look in the mirror and say what your own complexion is, so how are you going to tell me mine? But I've noticed that there's a lot of projection in the African American community, especially when it comes to light-skinned women, because a lot of people feel like if you are a lighter-skinned woman, then you have some sort of status or whatever. So people want to do everything in their power to take away that status because, they can't have you feeling too good about yourself now. That's not fair. You're going to think you're better than them if they bestow the light-skinned title upon you. And so it's even more insulting when you call yourself light-skinned because the person who doesn't call themselves light-skinned, they view using that term, the L word, light-skinned, they view you as bragging when you say that. And I've noticed a thing with, this happened with light-skinned Keisha where they didn't like her name. I noticed the same thing happened with the rapper Mulatto. People didn't like her name because same thing. They feel like she's bragging about being mixed. Have you ever noticed how if you're an MLS person, if you call yourself mixed or you call yourself light-skinned, you're automatically bragging. And then they'll say, well, you're making that a part of your personality. Meanwhile, people make being dark-skinned a part of their personality. People make being black a part of their personality because it is a part of your personality. And that's fine. It should be. Your blackness, that's your culture, that's your background, that's how you were raised, and then your skin tone, that's how you look. So you have every right to love yourself, regardless of your complexion. You have every right to call your skin tone by whatever nickname you see fit, whether you feel like you fit the light skin category or dark skin or cinnamon, whatever skin tone you feel comfortable declaring yourself to be, that's fine. It's your body. But I think that with light skinned Keisha in particular, I think part of the reason why some people try to call her out is because number one, she flaunts it. She calls her name light-skinned Keisha. So like I said, people automatically view it as you're bragging. I don't view it as bragging. I view it as you're just stating a fact. Like if I say I'm tall, that's not me bragging. Like I actually am tall. So who cares? And also, why do you care about what someone else calls their own skin tone? That's my question for the people who want to police who's light skinned and who's not. Why do you care what skin tone somebody else calls themselves? Because I've never in my life policed somebody's skin tone, no matter what complexion they were. Like I've never said to a white girl, well, you're not really white. You're tan. You're not pale. You're tan. Oh, shut up. You're not even dark chocolate. You're this other complexion. Never done that. You know why? Because I don't care. It's their body. It's their skin tone. It's their life. I'm focused on myself. I love myself. I just feel like people who have an inferiority complex about skin tone, those are the only ones who police other people's skin tones. It's because you have an inferiority complex. You put certain skin tones on a hierarchy, or you view other skin tones as not being as desirable or whatever. So when you see someone confidently repping whatever skin tone they have, and then if you in your mind think that that skin tone is more desirable than yours, then you get pissed. You get pissed off because it makes you feel inferior. But when it comes to light-skinned Keisha, I think people are mad because, she proudly claims her light-skinned phenotype. And also, I've seen people accuse light-skinned Keisha of either bleaching or lightening her photos. So let's talk about both of those things. First, let's talk about bleaching. Even if light-skinned Keisha and all these other lighter-skinned celebrities, because notice how they only like to call out when a lighter-skinned person bleaches themselves. Notice how nobody calls out if you go from Lupita Nyong'o's color to Kelly Rowland's color via bleaching. Nobody gives a fuck then. They only care if you're light-skinned and then you become even more light-skinned. But let's talk about bleaching. Even if light-skinned Keisha did bleach herself, now what? I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. It's like, so what? And I'm not trying to say that people should go and, just bleach themselves or get all these bleaching surgeries or whatever, but she's already done it. If she did bleach herself, it's like, okay, she already bleached herself, so now what? Like, you calling out someone's bleaching, that's not going to suddenly make her skin turn dark chocolate. It's no different than calling out somebody's weaves, wigs, lashes, or BBLs. You don't really have a big butt, you just got a BBL, and that's why you have all those followers on Instagram. You got a BBL, and now you call yourself Big Booty Judy on Instagram, and you got all these followers. That's the only reason that you're doing that. That's the only reason that you have those followers, is because you just got a BBL and started calling yourself by that name. You just bleached yourself and started calling yourself light-skinned Keisha so you could get clout. Okay, even if she did, she's already got the clout now. She's already a rapper now. Her skin tone already is what it is. You know what I mean? So calling out people's surgeries or something that they did to change their bodies, it's not going to take away whatever newfound privileges that person has. So this is why I always thought it was dumb when people tried to just call out surgeries and stuff. Oh, the Kardashians, you had all these surgeries. It's like, okay, they're still gaining pretty privilege all the time. They're still getting the brand deals. They still have makeup lines. They're still a billionaire family. So now what? Did you calling out all of her surgeries, did that cause you to become prettier, or do you think that's going to make her uglier? The only reason people try to call out enhancements is because they don't like that you're receiving status from those enhancements or from those changes that you made in your body. So that's why they need to call it out. They're trying to expose you because they're hoping that by calling out that you're a bleacher, they're hoping that anybody that was attracted to your bleached skin tone would suddenly be like, oh no, like fuck her, she's ugly now. But that's not how the world works, unfortunately. And I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing that the world is shallow, but people get surgeries and then they attain pretty privilege all the time. People bleach their skin and then they attain white privilege all the time, or they attain light skin privilege or whatever all the time. People change their hair textures. Let's talk about this. People change their hair textures via wigs and they benefit from texturism all the time in the workplace by wearing that wig that fits XYZ phenotype. So calling out what someone did that was like fake or whatever, and it's almost like if you take a test and then you call somebody out for cheating. People feel like it's a form of cheating, like, oh, that's not fair, you got these surgeries, or you lighten your photo, or you put a filter on, you're not actually that pretty, that's just a filter. I've seen people say stuff like that too, and it's like, okay, just admit that you're mad that her photo is pretty and that she's getting more likes than you, or that she's getting more attention than you. You're only calling out the filter because you're hoping that if people figure out that it's a filter, that it will take her down a notch and make people think, oh, okay, yeah, you're right, that's just a filter, she's not actually pretty. But that's not how people work. That's definitely not how men work. Men don't give a fuck. They don't care if your butt is fake, real. They don't care if your boobs are fake or real. They clearly don't care if your skin tone is fake or real. Look at how the bleaching industry is like $1 billion industry in the continent of Africa. Those African guys don't care. They're still fucking anything that walks. So now what? You calling out that somebody is lightening something or they bleach themselves or whatever, it does not change the fact that their skin is already light skinned now. So this is why when it comes to bleachers in particular, I honestly, like I said, I do not care what other people do with their bodies. I don't care if you had surgeries. I don't care if you're Michael Jackson. I don't care if you had a BBL, because your privileges or whatever that you gained from doing those things, that doesn't affect me. Like, that's your body. So if you want to get a bleaching surgery or get a nose job or whatever, or get that surgery where you lighten your eyes, I can't stop that. I can't control that. That doesn't affect me whatsoever. So why should I care about what other people do with their bodies? What I care about is when you bleach yourself and then you have the audacity to talk shit about people who were naturally born that way. That's when I have a problem, is when you use bleaching stuff or change your hair texture, eye color, etc., and then you want to talk shit and say, oh, well, MLS women are mediocre. Well, no, we're not mediocre because you're trying to look like us. I don't care if you bleach yourself and you say, oh, I think light skinned women are gorgeous and, this is what I want to look like or whatever. Okay, that's your business. But if you bleach yourself and then you say, fuck these light skins, they're mediocre, you only got to where you are because of colorism, well, then that's hypocritical. So that's why I have a problem. And like I said, I'm not defending, oh, people should go out and get all these surgeries and do all this stuff. But it's like, if somebody's already done something to their body and they've already changed it, me calling it out, it's not going to make their nose job go away. It's not going to make their BBL deflate. It's not going to make their skin tone go back to being dark skinned. So there's no point of even talking about it. Yeah, you may call it out like, oh, look, she has a weave. Oh, look, she has lashes on. But it's like, okay, did you achieve your goal, Scott, by calling out the fact that she's wearing lashes or that her butt is fake? Did you achieve your goal? People don't go into strip clubs and say, oh, her butt's fake, so, I'm not going to give her any ones or I'm not going to. No. People just want to be entertained. People just want to date whoever they're attracted to. Or, so I guess my thing is like this the skin tone thing, the eye color thing, the beauty enhancement thing. I feel like that is really all about the male gaze, once again. So you only want to put someone down because you feel like their light skin tone helps to capture the male gaze more. Or maybe you feel like that BBL or whatever surgeries that woman had, it helps capture the male gaze more. So that's why you are calling it out, because you're hoping that by calling out the fact that it's fake, that it will make men say, oh yeah, you're right, she's fake, like fuck her. And that's why you don't call out people like Lupita Nyong'o or Kelly Rowland or somebody who's darker skin who maybe bleached their skin to a slightly lighter version of darker skin, because you don't feel like she has as much of the male gaze. So you don't care because she's not your competition. Light skinned Keisha is your competition for the black male gaze. So that's why you're calling out light-skinned Keisha and trying to say, shut up, you're not light-skinned, you're my color. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you're not higher than me, you're the same level as me, you're down here at the bottom with me. So they're exposing themselves by even saying that. I also want to talk about people who lighten their photos, because people will talk about lighter-skinned people who lighten their photos on Instagram or dating apps or whatever, but who are the main people who lighten every single photo to the extreme? I even watched this one YouTube video a few years ago made by the Pink Pill, who's like a divestment type of lady. She has a deep chocolate type of skin tone. And she said that she used to meet guys in person and then they would say, oh, wow, I thought you were light skinned because of your photos. If you have a dark chocolate skin tone and you have lightened your photos so much to the point where people think you are light skinned, that means that you have lightened your photos to the extreme. So not only are you on literal like red carpet lighting or under studio lighting or outside in the middle of the sunlight where you're getting light from every single angle, in front, behind, on the sides, but then you're also going in and lightening and editing the entire photo to the point where you look 10 shades lighter. So what are you even talking about? Like, oh, she's lightening her photos. You're lightening your photos. And I'm just using Pink Pill as an example, but I feel like, once again, the main people who call these things out, they're mad because your photos are attracting the male gaze and they feel threatened by that. So they're like, oh, shut up. She's filtering that photo. She's lightening that photo. She photoshopped her waist to make it smaller. She photoshopped her butt to make it bigger. Oh, that's fake. I noticed that they did that with Chloe Bailey when she posted pictures of her body, and her body shape looked really good. And people were like, oh, she photoshopped that. She's editing her body. Well, why do you care? Even if she is editing her body, why do you care that she's editing it? Like, why are you mad that she's editing her body? Because I don't care who edits their photos. I don't care who's putting filters on, because it doesn't affect me. She's not taking anything from me by editing her photos or by getting a bleaching surgery or by getting a Michael Jackson nose job. None of those people are taking anything from me. So why should I get mad about that? Why should I care? That's my question for the people who like calling out, oh, you're not that light skinned, or you're not, it's like I have a right to tell you what your identity is. No, actually you don't. And this is why I feel like a lot of lighter skinned people, you should, if you're around people that you feel like you can't trust, don't even talk about your skin tone. Keep it a secret. If you feel like you can't trust anybody, or like they're going to try to call you out or be like, oh, you think you're better. I don't even talk about my skin tone in real life, because I already know who I am. I already know what I look like. I already know what my background is. So I feel no need to kind of prove to others or show others like, oh, this is what I think my skin tone is. Now, I can understand if, let's say, you're talking about something casually like makeup or whatever, and then you happen to mention it, and then they just attack you. Anytime somebody verbally attacks me, like when those girls verbally attacked me saying that I wasn't caramel and I don't count for being caramel, I never talked about my skin tone again. I was just like, okay, that's just their opinion. Like, I'm not going to go back and forth with somebody about what my own skin tone is. By the way, if you've made it this far in the video, make sure that you join the Patreon if you're loving my content. I also have a dark femininity course where I talk about how to use the principles from my YouTube channel to social climb and to get ahead and to strategically make sure that you are the one who is successful. And I teach you how to use all of the privilege stacking strategies that I talk about on this YouTube channel to your advantage in your everyday life. So those two things will be linked in the description. But my main question for people who get mad when someone calls themselves light-skinned is, why do you care whether they're light-skinned or not? If somebody Lupita Nyong'o's color came up to me and called herself light-skinned, I wouldn't argue. You know why? Because I don't give a fuck. I don't care. If you want to call yourself light-skinned, dark-skinned, a dinosaur, I don't care, because society treats you how you look when it comes, and skin tone is a part of that. So people already know what their true skin tones are. So even if somebody says, I'm light skinned, or let's say a girl who is Lupita Nyong'o's color says, I'm a white girl, I'm not even going to argue, because I already know that society is not going to see you as a quote unquote white girl or mistake you as a white girl. So I don't even feel the need to argue. In fact, I would just laugh. I would just laugh if somebody said that. If someone Lupita Nyong'o's color said, I'm light-skinned or I'm a white girl, I would just laugh and just move on with the conversation. I would not go back and forth and argue. So it's like, even if the person is actually delusional, again, why do you care if they are delusional? I personally would just assume it's a joke and laugh it off and just move on. I wouldn't go back and forth and say, oh no, you're not actually, you're darker than me and this is my skin tone, and hold on, let me pull out my arm so I can compare it to your arm. And what's your foundation shade? Let me take my foundation out of my purse and compare it to your foundation so that I can judge what your actual skin tone is. No, I don't care. Like, I genuinely don't care what other people call their skin tones. So my main question for the people who like to police who's light-skinned is, why do you care who's light-skinned? Why do you care which women are light-skinned? Why do you care that light-skinned Keisha calls herself light-skinned Keisha? Why do you care if somebody bleaches their skin? Why do you care if they get a plastic surgery? Why do you care if they wear a weave? Like, seriously, I don't care if a girl's wearing a weave. I don't go around and start calling people out. She's wearing extensions. She's wearing makeup. She's wearing red lipstick. I don't care what they're wearing, because none of what they're wearing takes away from me. They're not taking attention away from me by wearing lipstick. They're not taking privileges away from me by bleaching their skin and becoming Michael Jackson's color. I genuinely have a mindset of abundance to where I do not feel like anybody else's beauty or enhancements or surgeries or whatever takes away from me. So I think the root of this whole light-skinned Keisha thing and mulatto thing is people are just mad because they feel like by light-skinned women calling themselves light-skinned that they are taking on a status that is above their own. So they feel like, if lighter-skinned women are proud of their skin tones and they call themselves light-skinned, that's going to cause them to get more attention than me. That's what it is. This is all about a competition for the male gaze. And by the way, I have way more videos coming out on light skins, because it's time that us light skins speak up for ourselves and start telling our own stories. I don't care if somebody else, sorry, I'm like supposed to be ending this video, but I'm not. But it's like, I don't care if other people say, well, you're not that light skinned or you're not white passing, therefore you don't count. I genuinely don't care. I already know what my skin tone is. I already know what my experiences have been. I've never been called anything other than light skinned. That's it. That's my life. That's my experiences. I've been accused. I've had all of the same experiences as what you would see in documentaries like Light Girls. So even if I am not the lightest person in the entire world, that doesn't negate my experiences. There's always someone lighter than you and someone darker than you. Anyway, okay, now I'm really done with this video. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.